The eve of a rebellion. The background. Taxation not only without representation, but to a body that your reliance does not depend on, makes the cause for rebellious actions. Britain's Sugar and Currency Acts of 1764 limited the goods and the flow of currency that entered the colonies. Boycotts were enacted by the colonists in disagreement to the British attempt to take greater hold on the colonial economy.
Whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, yo.
Why the Tea Act happened. The subject of this Tea Act would be the East India Company, often subsidized by the British for their importance of trading in England. The East India Company entered financial difficulties from their military expenses in the Carnatic Wars of 1746 to 1763. Their return to stability in the subsequent years was stunted by smaller companies who could directly trade with their producers and by the rising French trade. Britain's Tea Act of 1773 was enacted to keep the East India Company from failure through reducing duties held on their exportation. Why did this act matter to the colonists? The pricing of tea in the colonies did decrease as a result. Ultimately, though, this act made the tea trade less competitive and limited the official market variety of tea from the already few British traders to the East India Company. The colonists would see this as an attempt from Parliament to further limit trade and ingrain their taxes in any industry they can expose.
What a sick joke!
You can't keep getting
I should have stopped him when I had the
away with
chance. And you have to stop him.
it. He can't keep getting away with it.
Was this act all that different than what they've been living before? The colonies, through the use of slaves, built a greater autonomy in their production by the mid-1700s. With this greater production, their trade extended to foreign smugglers and others of the sort for imports that the British could not provide for a reasonable price. The British, having citing the lesser and lesser reliance on their imports by the colonists, pulled their chains on them with an assortment of acts, one of the most intrusive acts being the Revenue Act. Within this, rights of assistance were easy to be written by the British officials, allowing them to conduct searches without specific evidence in Britain. The 13 colonies existed under the British umbrella of acts decades before the Tea Act. The Tea Act was the driving force for the colonial repulsion of Britain to hit its limit. That will be it. I hope you enjoyed.